Good morning and welcome to the June Downtown Aviation and Redevelopment Subcommittee meeting. My name is Daniel Valenzuela. I'm a council member for District 5. I'm honored to chair this particular subcommittee. I'm joined by my colleagues, Councilwoman Thelda Williams from District 1 and our Vice Mayor, Kate Gallego, Councilwoman from District 8. The first order of business is the call to the public. In this particular subcommittee meeting, we offer a call to public at the very beginning, the very end, and of course, throughout every item, anyone is allowed to fill out a yellow card and speak up. It's just a reminder to all of us, but more than a reminder, that the public has the first and the last word of these meetings. So no meeting, no call to the public cards for the first go around here. The next, if I can entertain a motion for the consent items, which are items I'm sorry. Thank you, Councilwoman. No, thank you. Do you have a motion to accept the minutes
So moved.
from the past meeting?
Second?
A motion and a second. This is for May 4th. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. The next item is the consent agenda, which are items 2, 3, 5, and 6.
Move approval. Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Now moving on to item 4.
Item 4 is the Tourism and Hospitality Advisory Board funds. Next year is an exciting year. We have the Final Four coming to our community. So the original proposal is to issue an RFP for $500,000, which is available. And I was wondering if we could look at issuing an RFP for $250,000, and then looking at spending $250,000 on Final Four related expenses at the city to make sure we maximize the benefit of that important national event to our community.
I guess my question would be, we have a brand-new budget we're working on. I would hope that all the departments, based on their past experience, have already included the overtime and the necessary monies in next year's budget.
Councilman Valenzuela, Councilman Williams, I believe the city departments anticipate the Final Four expenses within their existing budget. I believe the proposal on the table would allow the expenditure of funds that are already currently anticipated to be applied elsewhere within whether expanding city act functions or reducing the overall expenditure of the general fund budget in the upcoming year.
And we haven't planned for that in our budget? I mean, I understand we're public safety and streets and all of that, so give me an example.
So,
of what you're
Councilman
talking
Williams,
about.
we have, the departments have anticipated the expenditures of the Final Four within their budget, including overtime. And we anticipated that, without knowing the proposals that would come back, is that the tourism and hospitality funds would be spent by the private sector on proposals that they bring to us in the amount of $500,000. In the case of bringing proposals to us in the amount of $250,000, it would leave $250,000 to be applied to cover general fund expenses that we were otherwise going to have to spend. And then because these are excess monies not contained in the general fund budget for general city expenses, it could be allowed to offset other general fund city expenses that could then allow those funds to be spent on whatever the council desires.
Thank you.
Move approval to issue an RFP of $250,000 for Tourism Hospitality Advisory Board funds.
Does the motion have to contain anything else in regards to the other, or is this,
Not at this
does it
time.
cover it?
Not at this time.
Okay. So we have a motion on the table. We have a second. I'll second the motion. And any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 2-1. The next item on the agenda is item 7, taxi cab service revenue contract solicitation.
Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee, as you know, we have, in ground transportation, there are a couple of contracted services, and one of the, for ground transportation, one of those is taxi cabs. And the current contract is approaching expiration here in the next year, and so staff's here to describe for you the recommendations associated with issuing a new RFP to solicit those services. And Deb Ostreicher and Steve Grubbs are here to share that with you today.
Do you have
There we are. Good morning, Chairman and members of the council. The reason that we feel it is important to continue to have a taxi cab contract, given the ground transportation changes that we have made, is that we still want to ensure that as passengers walk out of the terminals, that there will always be somebody there for them to take a ride with, while they will now have the option of actually calling a service based on the changes that we are making. This will ensure that there is always a taxi cab there waiting for them, and we have details about that program that we're proposing, if you like.
Oh, what you think?
Would you care for some details about the program?
Do you want a motion?
Well, we can entertain a motion if we have one.
I would move approval because I think it's very important. We know there's going to be a mix out there, but I would think that we would want to be assured that we always have reliable people on site to provide that service. So I move approval.
Second?
Okay, great. We have a motion and a second. We do have some cards. We'll go to the cards. Each speaker will be given 2 minutes. We'll begin with Omar Bogar, marked in favor.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. My name is Omar Bogart. I'm the general manager of Mayflower Cab Company that has a contract right now at the Sky Harbor Airport. And I'm in favor, as I already indicated, of the proposal put forward by the aviation officials. And I think it's a fair proposition, and we're willing to work as we've been working with them over the past 6 years. I thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. The next speaker, I apologize, I'm gonna, Fitzum? That's the first name, and I apologize.
He can speak about, he's the general manager.
Okay. Sir, can you state your first and last name? I would hate to mess it up.
Joseph Grant, Sky Green, Cab. Yeah. The Sky Green Cab is based or formed by the airport drivers. The drivers, we've come together to form a company so that we think we can manage the customer service ourselves. Some of us have been driving averagely from 5 years to 25 years. We know the in and out of the airport. Some of the drivers were there when the first terminal was opened. So, as you say, we are the eyes and the ears of the ground transportation. As long as customer service is concerned, these drivers have served for all these years without complaint. We are working with companies, and we feel it's time we do things by ourselves. We think we are capable of rendering a good service. The last time we had meeting, and a whole lot of things were said, but we believe our issues didn't go down well with the board. I know, so long as customer service is concerned, if a contract is being issued, the drivers are the right people to contact. The drivers are the right people to give information in connection with how they are serving the public. But most often it appears drivers are, ignored. We believe we could serve the customers very well. The safety of the customer is in the hands of the driver. And then when you talk of safety, the drivers themselves, even as they are driving for the company, they have no insurance. There's nothing covering them. So when the contract is given to us, we can get insurance for our own selves. We drive without insurance. The car is covered, the passenger is covered, but the driver is not covered. We work all these years. We are not even thinking of retirement benefit. There's nothing like that. We go home. When you get wounded, you take care of yourself. So we suggest and we recommend and again submit that all that we said last week will be brought back to the table so that the board members will look into it once again. The other issue I want to talk about is that we really appreciate all that the Grand Transportation is doing and our companies that we are working with. But it is time that we ourselves, as we are ready to serve the general public, we are given the chance with the contract so that we serve better.
Out of fairness, we need to keep moving. We'll let you finish your thought there, okay?
Okay. The last thing is everything boils down to safety and customer service, and we are ready. We have served for the past years, and we are ready to continue. Okay. So we submit that, or we suggest and recommend that our issues should be put on the table and addressed once again, so that you will be considered for the contract. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next speaker, Abbas. I believe that's the first. Sir, can you please state your first and last name?
Yes, I'm Abbas Naini. I'm with Apache Taxi. I'm in favor of the number 7, and I want to thank ground transportation staff that they have done a superb job in this matter, and that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nain. The next speaker, Suleiman Adam. Please state your name, sir. I apologize if I mispronounced it.
My name is Suleiman Adam. Really, I'm very short for English.
Okay. Take your time.
Just I try to say I'm a driver longer in airport. Did you hear me well?
Mm-hmm.
Because was supposed to be doing same job is more heaviness for us because we have to pay rent of company. I have to do for my pocket. We have very heavy time, tough time for right now. We need very well for take our chance to service. If you give me benefit, anyway you give to company, we drive it. Why not give to ourselves to use it? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adam. The next speaker, Agir Dwell. Oh. Please state your name. I apologize for mispronouncing.
My name is Dual Auguer. I've been a driver for like 7 years, and some of us been at the airport for like 20 to 30 years. We are not new to this job. But the thing that we have a lot of complaints. Our complaint is that the job we do, we cannot afford to insure ourselves, like my brother said already. We cannot afford to support our families. We're doing this job 15 hours a day, 15 hours a day to 17 hours a day, 7 days a week. Some of them do that. At the end of the days, you may go home with $20, which is not worth it. Why not you don't give us a chance? We will support ourselves. We will open the insurance to ourselves. We live on welfare. You guys provide Medicare to us. Why not? And we're paying $1,000 to these companies. Why you don't give us a job? To save the city the money. And we will having a good life as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Williams, would you like to ask this young man a question?
I know we have these contracts, and we frequently, in renegotiation time, hear this. Do you monitor any way to make sure that the cab companies actually follow and that the drivers get paid as appropriate?
Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee, Councilwoman Williams, we do that a number of different ways. We monitor the number of trips that per taxis get at the airport and adjust our levels accordingly throughout the year for special events and for the different seasons of the year on peak demands. And so as demand increases, we increase the number of taxis. As demand decreases, we decrease it to ensure that the taxi drivers get enough trips. And through outreach as well as consultant studies, we've determined that 8 to 10 trips per vehicle per day is in the healthy range. And if it starts getting below that, then it is problematic for the drivers. If it starts getting too far above that, then we miss out on availability of cabs for our customers that walk out onto the curbs. So yes, we do monitor that. We don't control how many days a week they work or how many hours a day they work. I would defer that to the owners and the companies and to help answer that.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you much. Ground transportation is enormously important to our community and to the success of the airport, and we've spent a lot of time on it this year. And I hope it is good news for the people in this room that the airport has dramatically reduced the amount taxis are paying towards overall ground transportation costs. I think it's on the magnitude of millions of dollars.
Mr. Chair, Vice Mayor, that's true. We reduced the airport fees by over $4 million per year, from $4.6 million that we're collecting today to $2.6 million, and that's average of about $10,000 per vehicle per year is what we've reduced the cost. So now that we've leveled the playing field as far as trip fees go, with your help, thank you on that, and we're moving away from the bid fee model. The taxi companies would pay the same as any prearranged provider that provides luxury service, or in the future an Uber or Lyft driver. They would pay $3.25 per pickup at the airport. And this was very significant last year. 1 out of every 3 passengers that walks out of that terminal looking for a commercial ride take a taxi. And that equated to over 800,000 trips last year. So it is very important that we have an exceptional level of service, that we have taxi availability 24/7 at the airport. And there's a number of things that we require and why we contract with them to make sure that we sustain this very important customer service that our customers want and demand.
And Mr. Chair, members of the council, to your question about do we monitor these companies, one of the things that is so important about this proposed contract moving forward is the different opportunities that these drivers will have to operate within an owner-operator model. Because like we know you do, we so appreciate the service that they provide to our passengers, and many of whom say that they've been doing this for many years, and our passengers value that knowledge. With this new contract, the drivers have the opportunity to work for a company in the model that they choose.
I think that is very good news. I met with many, both company owners and drivers, and we heard a lot that they want more options, and this contract will give them more options. So we've heard a lot that people want to take personal responsibility, that people have decades of experience driving, and that they will be successful entrepreneurs. And so this contract has a significant set aside for owner-operators so that they can do just that. So I think we really have tried to listen to the entire ground transportation community, but individual taxi drivers, and give more options. And so I'm glad we're moving in that way. I also heard credit card fees were important, and this contract now means that there will not be, whatever the bank charges or the processor charges for credit card fees will be what the driver pays, so there won't be an additional fee on that. And I'm very hopeful that that will be helpful to the drivers as well, that they'll keep more of their fare when there's a credit card transaction. So with the $4 million in lower fees, I'm hopeful that will, I'm sorry,
Vice Mayor, that's correct, $2 million in savings.
Mm-hmm. That some of that may be passed along to both the taxi company owners and the drivers, and that everyone can succeed as part of this. Certainly it is a more competitive market. There are more options now to get to the airport, but the lower fees should be very helpful to folks. So we have great options in this for entrepreneurs who just want to own and operate one taxi, or those who want to operate many. So I think this contract better meets the needs of both the traveling public and the drivers, who are an important part of our economy here. So would be interested in comments from folks about whether they like the owner-operator set aside, but that was something that I heard often that would produce better results for both drivers and the traveling public. Thank you.
Got it. Okay, we'll move on to the next speaker, David Faraji. Mr. Faraji?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You have 2 minutes, sir.
Good morning. My name is David Faraji, and I have a question regarding of the grant transportation that we asked this to the advisory board, but they didn't go in it. And in the beginning, when they set up the meeting regarding of this proposal, they talk about the RFP and bid process and all this, but in the end, they put it in RCS, and we want to know why you do this and why they didn't go to same as 7 years ago that they have a taxi contract or van service, super shuttle, why they didn't go to the bid process. Our suggestion is 4 to 5 companies, equal opportunity, 200 or more cab, and all be owner-operator, 1 driver or 2 driver with 1 car. Same as Mayflower business plan, that 7 years that Grand Transportation and you try this. This RCS is a monopoly, discrimination, favorite, and new modern slavery in again 7 more years in airport. Same as 30 years that the driver that a bad situation and you didn't care about this. And last Friday, we had a meeting at the Terminal 2 with Mrs. Lev Silva, is a contractor administration operation. And she said, after you approve this and City of Phoenix approve this, they go in a detail of that. If there is a detail, if they want to change it, they should come before this, not after you approve it and you hand it to the Grand Transportation, and Grand Transportation change it. If they change any part of that, that will be completely illegal, and This is a corruption. Please stop that. And regarding of the, you put the 3 years operation, medium and large airport as a requirement to the large company. Please remove this. This is eliminate. You eliminate this contract to only the big company that has a contract with the airport, and this is not fair. And regarding of the, if you approve this, and if City of Phoenix approve this, there is no way for us, only we need to go to through of the court and lawsuit. Please reconsider this and take care of the driver. 30 years, we are a slave. We want one taxi, 2 driver, 1 taxi, all of them. We don't want middleman. They're saying that I gave you that in San Diego, there is a easy, they can work. And instead of you lay off the employee of the City of Phoenix, please hire somebody and they take care of this contract.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Next speaker, Abraham Ding.
It's a bit shorter.
You can take it out if.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah, good morning. Yeah, I'm glad to be here today and to see the board members, the ground transportation, and the general public. Last time we came here and we met the councilwoman, Kerry, and there are some of the issues that we brought to the attention of the councilwoman, not only her, but to all the council members. So today, I'm going to, because of my time is very limited, I'm going to make a brief of what we do. My name is Abraham Deng. Last year, we formed a company called Sky Green Cab, and Sky Green Cab was a recommendation from the ground transportation. It came as a result that with the taxi drivers who are working at the airport, we have some of the complaint with the companies. And the complaint that we have been working there from 3 years to 30 years. And the complaint that we have, to make it in general view, there are a lot of discrimination that are going on with those companies that you gave a contract. There are a lot of exploitation that they do to the drivers. There are a lot of dehumanization. There are a lot of corruption going. There are a lot of nepotism. There are a lot of threatening to the taxi drivers. As a result of all this complaint, we do believe that those are not only for us. The issues are against the public interest or the public view. So we are here requesting the councillors to put us under their consideration that the contract have to be given to the driver companies. We formed this company so that it have to be umbrella, and every driver have to own their car and they have to work under the company. So to cut the middleman, that will enable us to give life to the drivers so that they have to have a good life, they have to have a retirement, they have to control their time. Last week or this week, some of the drivers, they just make 1 pair a day, 2 pair a day, and they have entitled to pay $132 a day to the companies. What are they going to do?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Deng. Next speaker, really bad handwriting here. Gregory Torres.
Sister Mary said I didn't have good writing. Chairman Valenzuela and council members, thank you. You know, I don't think there could ever be enough accolades on any situation. The airport, under the supervision of Mr. Makowski and Steve Grubbs and Paul and Tyler and Valerie Churchwell, and we'll throw Deb Oestreicher in, have done an incredible job. I mean, over the last year, they've had over 5 industry meetings. They've had 25 one-on-one meetings. They've searched to try to find a fair and reasonable approach to this opportunity. It'd be nice if everybody could win, but in the real world, it doesn't work that way. This airport should be commended because they're going to go from 3 current contracts to 4. They're going to divide it up between 2 large, 2 small. They're going to have a fully owner-operated franchise model. They're going to make 15% of every other contract have owner-operator. I don't know what else you could do to be fair and equitable. I think at the end of the day, the world changed. You know, we have Uber, Lyft, you know, they're in. 800,000 trips for taxis 2015 will probably become less than that. So again, to commend the airport that they went above and beyond to try to find a way to be fair and reasonable. They told you about adjusting the fleet. So this 200 fleet will still be adjusted to give an average route for each individual driver approximately 10 trips per day. Some days less, maybe some days more. I think, again, you should be proud of the work they've done, proud of what has been accomplished. The fact that they're going to absorb over $4 million of the operational costs. I mean, I don't know of a better collaboration on behalf of this community than what they have done to go above and beyond. So I want to support the item, and I think that this would be a great RCS for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Torres. The final speaker, Sunny Nguyen.
Good morning, council members and airport staff. My name is Sunny Nguyen, and I'm the CFO of Yellow Cab. Yellow Cab was founded in 1982 and has served Arizona since that time. For over 3 decades, Yellow Cab has been creating business opportunities for thousands of vehicle owners and operators. Having started as a small business with only 2 vehicles, Yellow Cab now creates business opportunities for over 1,300 operators. The average tenure of operator with a Yellow Cab is over 4 years, and some operators have been with us 10, 15, 20 years. Yellow Cab has maintained a great partnership with Sky Harbor Airport for over 25 years. We greatly appreciate our partnership with Sky Harbor Airport and for the opportunity to serve airport ground transportation needs. As a result of this partnership, we have been able to create business opportunities for over 35 to 40 business vendors every month. Many of these vendors rely on our business to support their families. Many Yellow Cab also partners with many local nonprofit agencies that serve our community as well. We would like to sincerely thank you for your time and appreciate the opportunity to participate in the upcoming RCS, which we fully support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nguyen. That is the final card for this agenda item, and I'll turn it back over to my colleagues if there's a motion.
I think we have a motion and a second, but I just have a couple of quick questions.
Oh, I apologize, right.
There was a comment earlier about insurance requirements. Could you speak to what is the insurance requirements related to this?
Mr. Chair, Vice Mayor Gallego, the insurance requirements, we're resetting those under this contract to be fair for all providers that permit with us at the airport. So we'll follow the state standard for insurance minimums at the airport. The one comment that was made about the driver not being insured, I'm not aware of that, and I guess I would defer that to the taxi companies to help answer that comment.
But insurance rates should be going down.
Insurance rates are going down. In the current contract, we require $1 million in insurance, and under the state law drops down to $250,000 of insurance. And that's minimum, and I think most companies, because of business reasons, need and should have, and we would encourage to have higher insurance.
But the good news is we've heard a lot from folks. They want competitive pricing, and there's just a lot more flexibility in this. So there's a real chance that the traveling public could see lower costs, and there's still room for the drivers to benefit.
Mr. Chair, Vice Mayor Gallego, that is the hope, that those savings would be passed down to the drivers in a number of ways, as we've talked about already. But there's also other outreach items that we've reduced the prices or the cost down for the drivers, such as you can expect hybrid vehicles. And the drivers in outreach meetings overwhelmingly supported hybrids, which we support under this new contract, and that will save the drivers thousands of dollars in fuel costs per year as well.
I do think it's exciting that we have a significant commitment to alternative fuel, 100% alternative fuel. So not that we compete with other airports, but I hear we are beating the Los Angeles area. And I think that's good news. And then we also maintain our commitment to accessible transportation. So there will be vehicles that are accessible for individuals who use mobility devices like wheelchairs. So we're continuing to be a very inclusive city that welcomes everyone. A lot of good news in this contract, a lot more options, and we'll be empowering entrepreneurs. We have great success stories about people who have started transportation companies and really grown and blossomed in the Phoenix area. So thank you. Look forward to supporting the motion.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, we do have a motion and a second. I too will be supporting the motion for all of the statements that were just made overall. That said, why don't we get to that? So we have a motion and a second on the table. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much. The next item on the agenda, I believe it's on 9, correct?
Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee, as always, we monthly, at your request, come back and discuss the status of the airport's efforts related to overflights, and are prepared to tell you verbally where we are since the last time we met, and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Blue. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the subcommittee. Very quickly, staff continues to receive hundreds of noise concerns on a weekly basis about the overflight that Mr. Blue referenced. We are still in litigation against the FAA on this issue. On the legislative front, the positive news we shared last meeting on the Senate approval of the FAA reauthorization still stalled in the House, so we're closely monitoring that. The Aviation Service Director is actually in D.C. today presenting to the RTCA Global Symposium on next-gen impacts, and specifically the suffering our community has endured from it and some of the issues that we've observed with next-gen implementation. And we are closely monitoring some of the FAA community actions in San Francisco and Chicago right now, as they're closely related to some of our goals. Finally, we continue to monitor the FAA's IFP Gateway portal. There's no new procedures to report on, and so with that, staff again would express our gratitude for the opportunity to give this update, and happy to answer any questions or concerns.
Thank you. We do have 2 cards for this item. The first is Brent Kleinman.
Good morning, Chairman Valenzuela and the rest of the committee. Seems a little like we're missing somebody.
And Councilman Gates.
Yes. I do want to start by wishing everybody with this litigation a happy anniversary. I believe it was June 1st last year that we started down this path, so here we are a year later and planes are still flying over the house. But I know we're moving forward. I had a couple of comments more, I guess, about the website and the skyharbor.com and some concerns. I don't think the legal updates are being posted as much as they should be, as far as the briefings, which are public record and able to be seen. I think those would be good for the community members to be able to read and look at. And I think with the litigation and the process it may be time to go beyond just coming here for a monthly update and involving the community again and having some meetings out in the public. I think it's important that we re-energize the public to what's been going on. And it's not happening in these meetings. We're not getting the people coming down here once a month. So I think it's imperative that we get back out in the community as the airport, as the city of Phoenix, and get that re-energized about all this. So those are my comments, and I look forward to seeing what happens in the upcoming future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kleiman. Next speaker, Gilbert Cohn. No. Okay. Mr. Cohn is no longer here. Okay, thank you so much. All right, so as what was mentioned, we've been doing this for about a year. We've made it a standing agenda item for this particular subcommittee, giving everyone an opportunity to come and get the latest information, offer the latest comments or feeling just as Mr. Kleiman has. And this has been an effort ranging from our neighbors who are literally living in these neighborhoods that are being impacted, all the way up to our federal delegation that has been working really hard. And I want to thank our city staff, in particular aviation staff, for continuing to keep everyone abreast of what's going on. You've been very creative in how you do that through websites, social media, and just getting out into the community and coming here every month for this update. So any questions or comments by my colleagues? Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right.
This is the Deb show.
So, yes, it's the Deb show.
That's right.
All right, item 9, Air Service Marketing Program Adjustment.
Can I move over?
And we will keep Deb Ostriker up here.
It's going to be a good day together, long day together.
All right.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the subcommittee. I am here on this item about international air service development to talk to you about a program that we believe would have a minor but impactful adjustment. If by making this minor adjustment, we can make a strong impact on our air service program. We have existing marketing incentives that you all have approved. And those are available to all carriers, but this specifically is to go after our leisure carriers. As we have reviewed several times in the past, we know that the economic benefits of a flight are significant, and in exchange for an overseas flight, we offer up to $1.5 million in marketing incentive monies. But we feel if it brings another carrier, we know you all are in agreement that it is worth it because of the type of economic benefits that brings into the valley. The recent start of the Culiacan-Sinaloa flight last week is an example of an airline, Volaris, who took advantage of these marketing incentives, and based on the program that you approved, they are entitled to $150,000 in marketing incentives to promote that flight and bring people between Culiacan and Phoenix. So we celebrated their arrival last week, but we all know we want more, in particular overseas. Last summer, Councilwoman Williams suggested, strongly advised, that we pursue more heavily charter or new line carriers. This is something that we had not focused on aggressively in the past, as we had focused mostly on mainline carriers like Lufthansa and British Airways and KLM. So we immediately began meeting with these carriers and found out a couple of important things. One is that these carriers, in order to make a decision and begin flying to Phoenix, generally can do that within 2 to 4 years, whereas the mainline carriers take anywhere from 8 to 10 plus years to kind of build that into their system, make a decision, and begin flying. The other thing that we learned is that these types of carriers like to fly maybe for several months only to try a market and just see if they bring in a bunch of, say, German tourists for a week. They might do that for June, July, and August. The current incentive program that we have does not assist them in doing this type of test marketing. So we'd like to take the current program that we have and adjust it slightly without increasing the funds, but making those same funds available to airlines who may want to fly only for 3 or 4 months. Our current program requires at least 6 months consecutive travels. So when we met with the carriers, they said, well, we might consider coming into Phoenix in 2017 or 2018 for June, July, and August. Our answer at that time is that we don't have a program to assist with that. Our suggestion is that we take, as you'll see on the left column, that is the current program, and then the next column are the current totals that are in the approved program now. And what we'd suggest is that we make a monthly prorate, so with the same funds, but allow, so if a flight would like to come in, this is only for overseas, once a week for 3 months, that they would be able to take advantage of that same amount, but prorated. So at the same time, if they'd like to come in 6 days or more a week, all summer long or all winter long, they would be able to take advantage of that prorated amount. The airlines that we generally have been speaking with are more of the Americans and KLMs, British Airways, Lufthansa's, et cetera. You'll see up on this chart there are additional airlines and many more like Condor and XL, Edelweiss, and Icelandair that may bring in these types of passengers who would be willing and interested in coming to spend some leisure time here in Phoenix for if a flight was available twice a week. That is something that we would offer this type of incentive in order for them to do. So while we would not abandon our mainline carriers, we'd like to adjust this in order to seek out these secondary carriers. That would mean the same amount. It would give them more flexibility and increase the chances we feel that they would take advantage of our incentive program. Thank you.
If I could ask Deb to add one thing. If this was successful from your perspective, how many flights would you see added per week if you felt like this was meeting expectations of or what you aspire to do?
Thank you, Mr. Blue. While there are carriers around the world who may take advantage of this, particularly in Europe, many of the European carriers are looking for new opportunities, and I think that what we might expect is in 2017, 18 or so, that starting with one European carrier may begin twice weekly service into Phoenix for the summer. If that is successful, then I think building upon there.
Councilwoman?
Well, obviously, I support this because years of experience, it's kind of like we've gone full circle. We are approached the tourism companies locally and in Europe and in Asia previously, but the program slipped away. And I think what really brought it home recently is the Vice Mayor and I were at that luncheon, and we had Lufthansa between us, and who said, have you considered Condor? We were watching their numbers, and if they're in here and building business, we will definitely keep our eye on you and definitely boost you up for regular flights, which is the ultimate goal. But I believe any foreign tail sitting out at that airport is good. I want to see Asia and I want to see European flights. We have an international reputation for our tourism. That's what we're known as, a leisure market. But I think it's important that we work very closely with the tourism, with the resorts, to build some packages that we can present there as to those providers, the tourism providers, because we all know Europeans buy packages. Americans don't, but Europeans do. So I think if we have something to offer, we can do some advertising on that end. It's going to help build that. I think it was very important yesterday. You brought in an expert, talked to the business community. The governor's office believes very strongly in tourism and packaging and big supporters of developing international business. This is also an opportunity. When you bring in those tourists, you don't know for sure who you have. You may have a business owner who looks around Arizona and says, oh, this is the place I want my next factory to be or my next outlet to be. So I am a firm believer, we're talking big bucks for a little amount of money, and so I move approval of this.
Motion, do you want to?
Move approval?
Well, we have a motion on the table.
Oh, I'm
Do you
sorry.
wanna-
I did want to make a few comments.
Oh,
Thank you.
sure, of course.
So I enjoyed joining Councilwoman Williams to talk with the international air service providers, and I think this really does reflect what they told us about the options and how they would enter the market. And as Councilwoman Williams alluded, the importance of tour operators, but also really appreciate that we're working as a city with the economic development folks to bring companies that are based in these target markets to the airlines so that they know about the growing trade relationships we have and the growing presence of both European and hopefully someday we can even, well, we are already working with Asian American companies as well to make sure that the airlines are aware what an international presence we have in the Phoenix market and that there are people who travel back and forth. The councilwoman and I got to hear from someone who apparently he flies internationally in the same seat multiple times a month on the British Airways flight. I can't imagine having my own seat, but maybe it brings some comfort if you're doing it that often. But I think it's good that we get those stories in front of the people who are making these decisions because we do have a lot of European companies in this market and it will make it easier for them to grow if we have these flights. So I think this change makes sense, and I'm glad that it's not just this change in isolation, but that we're really trying to look big picture at what will happen. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree. I was also at the same event, had an opportunity to meet with some of the aviation team members from a lot of the Asian countries, and I couldn't agree more. I want to thank you for your effort, Councilwoman. You've actually traveled on, I don't know, on 48-hour trips to some of these locations, and I don't know if that's enough time to literally get there, but that just shows your commitment to this, and we should all be incredibly committed to this. This is about our economy, and it's more than just putting a shingle up and saying we're open for business. We actually have to get out there and show that and well, frankly, others are also showing that it's more than an art. It is a science, and how we attract these flights and how we will move our economy forward. We do have a lot to tell. We have a great story to tell right here in Phoenix, in the Valley, in our state, but we have to tell it in the best way possible. So this is part of it, and so that we have a motion on the table. I believe we have a second. Mm-hmm. Oh, we don't. We have a motion and a second. I am also in support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much.
I'm still here.
Oh, we're looking forward to seeing you this afternoon at Formal.
Yeah.
Earning your paycheck today. Thanks.
I thought you seconded.
I may have, but apologize if I.
All right, well, moving on to item 10, authorization to enter a contract for the barrister.
Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee, at the direction of the City Council, we have been working diligently to try to monetize some existing city land assets in strategic locations where we can both accrue revenue back to the city and release some trapped resources to help fund other things in the city organization while bringing great development to the community. We're here today to tell you what we believe to be a wonderful story that is going to both profit the city, profit private businesses who are going to invest, and is going to be, I think, a great outcome for the community at large. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Chris Mackey.
Good morning, Chairman and council members. We are here today, as Mr. Blue said, to talk to you about a very exciting project for Phoenix, and that is the sale of the Barrister Building. In August of 2015, at council's direction, staff issued a request for proposal for the sale or reuse of the Barrister Building. In November of 2015, we received 8 qualified proposals, and a committee panel sat, and upon reviewing the 8 qualified proposals, selected to interview 3. And we're here today to give you an overview of the recommended proposer that came out of the community panel. So with that, for details, I'd like to turn it over to Robin Sayed with Community and Economic Development.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Again, as Chris mentioned, in August 2015, the city issued a request for proposal for the approximately 1-acre site. And the site includes the Barrister Building as well as 4 adjacent city-owned parcels. The Barrister Building itself, or Jefferson Hotel as it is also known, is a 6-story, approximately 45,000 square foot building. It was built in 1915. The city purchased the building in 1990 and vacated in 2010. The Barrister Building is listed on the Phoenix Historic Property Register. The evaluation criteria in the RFP included the integration and preservation of historic elements, level of return and benefits to the city, the proposer's qualifications, consistency with city plans and ordinances, as well as the scope and scale of the project, the business plan, financial capacity, and timeline. Again, as Chris mentioned, the city received 8 responsive proposals. The evaluation panel conducted a shortlisting process and decided to interview 3 proposers. And in November of 2015, the evaluation panel, consisting of representatives from Metro West Development, WebPT, the Phoenix Downtown Neighborhood Alliance, and 3 city departments, recommended Crescent Bay Development Services as the successful proposer. Here with us this morning is Jeff Beer with Crescent Bay Holdings, and he's going to take it from here and run you through the proposed project.
Thank you, Robin. Chairman Valenzuela, Vice Mayor Gallego, and Councilwoman Williams, thank you so much for this opportunity to present. Before I get started, though, I want to introduce our project partners. See who's back here. From Sunbelt Holdings, John Graham and Wayne Damas. Sunbelt has been a force in the downtown for a long time, and currently they're behind Portland on the Park, on Hance Park, which is a highly comparable project to what we're going to show you here in a second. Also is Chris Ledwith from Smith Group. Chris did the cool renderings we're going to see in a minute. Also, Smith Group was Phoenix Union High School and done some other great work downtown. And then, of course, Nick Wood from Snell and Wilmer. We can't imagine doing any project in downtown without Nick's counsel. And my name is Jeff Beer. I may not be familiar to some of you, but some of my projects may be familiar to all of you. Biltmore Mountain Estates was a project I did back with Starwood in my Starwood days. The Scottsdale Waterfront, and with a fellow named Fred Unger, actually used to own the Hotel Monroe before we sold it in 2006 before the crash. So we've been active in the Valley and downtown. In fact, one of the things we're most proud of is our entire project team is local. In fact, we're so local that 2 of the guys sitting behind me can literally walk to this project. So as we get into it, and you have an image behind as well, so I can talk to this image, you can see the one behind. Just to define a couple of terms, right in the front and center is the Barrister Building. That was the subject of the RFP along with the land. You'll also hear us use the term Jefferson Place, and for us what that means is the entire project, the 2 new buildings, one to the east and one to the south, that flank the existing building. All 3 of those buildings are for sale, residential, over ground floor retail and restaurant space. And then as we went through this project and created our submittal for the RFP, we kind of kept seeing 3 sort of objectives coming through in the RFP that came out from the city. One was, of course, historic preservation. This is a marvelous building. It's literally over 100 years old. We don't have those kinds of gems in Phoenix. This is one of them. It needs to be preserved. Street activation, wanted to make sure that we continue to build some energy and some momentum, particularly at the pedestrian level. And then finally, site densification. We've got light rail on one side today. It's going to be 2 sides pretty soon. Light rail deserves density, improves ridership and the economics. And if I was watching Robin correctly, it brings us to this slide. So we were thrilled to hear that we were selected by the evaluation panel, but nobody gets a perfect score and every project has room for improvement. And for ours, it was really 2 things. One is our parking was extremely limited. We have a very tight site. It's under an acre. It's extremely difficult to park. It winds up being all ramp and no stall. Accordingly, what we proposed was limited parking for the residential units, and literally we had no parking at all for the commercial space, which was code compliant but not very practical from a leasing perspective. And then one of the evaluation panel members also called us out on the lack of density. They would have preferred to see more density on the site. So we went back to work and think we've come up with a solution that solves both problems. What you're looking at here is about 25% more parking and 25% more density than what was in the original RFP submittal. And even though we've increased it, we still think that density is very appropriate for this intersection. The Hotel Palomar and Cityscape Residence is substantially taller and wider than the building we're proposing along Jefferson Street. And the new Marriott Courtyard Residence Inn is substantially taller than the building we're proposing on Central Avenue. So drilling down, that's what it looks like from the street level. And we're very excited by what we have here because the density that's on the site solves one of the two problems we had, but it puts that density in the northeast corner of the site. So what that means is you're traveling eastbound on Jefferson, it doesn't block the view of the Barrister Building at all. You can still see the full view of the Barrister. Plus, we stepped it back just a little from the curb. So even if you're a pedestrian walking westbound, you can still experience the Barrister Building and come around. You'll notice that we put the sign back on the building. We are desperately in search of that sign. If any of you in the room today happen to know what happened to it, we would love to know. It would be a travesty if that wound up in a dumpster. We've got to find it. If not, we'll have to replicate it and stick it back on. And going down south on Central toward the warehouse district, we haven't changed the height of that building at all. We've left it right at 6 stories for 2 reasons. One, you're heading northbound on Central, so it is more of an issue about the view of the Barrister. Plus, it's more appropriate to step down the height of those buildings as we approach the warehouse district. And then this slide here sort of helps talk to a lot of the objectives that we had. And I'm going to start with the Barrister Building on the right side of the screen. It may look a lot like what's there today, but there's a lot of details. Hopefully the light isn't too blinding that you can see. But for starters, all of those residential windows are going to be replaced. The original building had a double hung window. What's there today is a single fixed pane of glass. We're going to go back, replace every single window with a double hung style, and if the code folks will let us, we'll actually make those operable, which will be really fun. And then at the very top level, it's subtle, but you'll notice that there's mullions on the very top row. The original building had a 15 or 12/1 window mullion style on the top row. We're going to put that back. And at the ground level, again, very subtle, those windows are twice the size of what you see there today. When the building was retrofit in the late 70s, they dropped additional columns in, which shortened up the size of the glass. So not only are we going to put those windows back to their size, we're going to put the original mullions back in so that we maintain the proportions of the original building. And there's also a gasket between the old and the new, so you can experience the new building without interfering too much with the old building. Street activation, you can see it. We're going all the way down Jefferson with ground floor. And then we have a mid-level activation, too, right above at level 5. That's the amenities deck for the condominiums that comes out. And then because we're in the digital signage district, we actually have a signage opportunity. So there's a lot going on at the street level. And then site densification, as you could see in the previous slide, yeah, we're going up pretty tall. It's about a 15-story building. And then as we really drill down here at grade, you can see we're planning soft and shady at the street level. It improves walkability. We've actually spoken a lot with the folks that own the Lures project and Hanji Corp, who shared with us their streetscape plan. So we're going to try to match that to the extent we can so that you create some consistency going down toward the warehouse district. Let's see, what else can we tell you here? And again, as we approach the warehouse district, again, we can see we've brought the commercial uses all the way down Central so that we're activating the maximum amount of that block that we can. And given that this is sort of the last quadrant of the intersection to be developed, we're really creating a true live, work, play at Central and Jefferson. If you think back a little over a decade ago, I mean, the improvement is quite extraordinary. Cityscape's now there, it's vibrant, and the Lures project's been completely renovated. This is going to finish it off and add for sale residential, which literally have every single use, live, work, play, on that corner. Hotel, retail, office, for sale residential, for rent residential. You're going to have it all right there, not only in the downtown, but literally on that corner. And this last two slides here is really to give you a sense for the residential experience if you were to buy a condominium in here. And we're really excited by the project amenity deck that we have. This is 5 stories up in the air, south facing, so you get the sun in the winter when you really want it. That deck goes right through the building out to Jefferson Street. So you have interior glass on both sides. You can literally see right through the building. Inside, you'd have fitness, club room, billiards, outside pool and spa. Just going to be a dynamite experience. And then we're also showing here trying to create some sort of amenity on top of the Barrister building as well. We have to be very careful about that. There's mechanical considerations that might get in the way. And that's also part of the historic easement of the building. So we may or may not be able to do certain things up there. But we're showing it just as something we're taking a look at. And then finally, this last slide is my shameless attempt to try to get you all to tell everyone you know to buy a unit because we think it's going to be a lot of fun. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you so much.
Great. We do have some.
Oh, sorry, a little bit more.
Oh.
That concludes the presentation on the great project you see in
Gotcha.
front of you.
Gotcha.
So to continue,
I'm sorry,
yeah,
Robin,
no
that's my
problem,
part
no
of it.
problem. Staff has negotiated the following business terms with the developer. The development team has agreed to purchase the site for $2.28 million by the end of this year. Additionally, the developer has agreed to grant a perpetual conservation easement on the Barrister building, which is really significant, and we want to highlight that. They will start construction no later than December 31st of 2017, and they will finish within 36 months thereafter.
And subcommittee members, I think it's important to note too, the $2.28 million represents the appraised value of the building, so that was through an appraisal process.
In addition, staff has negotiated a reimbursement upon completion of construction of the approximately $50 million project of up to $1.9 million for historic preservation and rehabilitation items as well as public infrastructure. The source of the reimbursements will come, a portion would come from the Downtown Community Reinvestment Fund. The remainder of the balance would come from using 50% of the City of Phoenix portion of eligible sales taxes collected from the project for a period of 15 years post completion of construction. That amount would not exceed $1.65 million. The historically significant items eligible for reimbursement would be agreed upon and approved by the city's Historic Preservation Office. Other eligible improvements would include things like removing transformers from the right-of-way to improve that pedestrian experience, taking those transformers, moving them underground. We're also looking at possibly relocating public utilities. We have been in close collaboration with the light rail team and Valley Metro on some possible efficiencies or enabling projects that this development may be able to do to help light rail. We don't want to tear up the road twice if we don't have to. Very preliminary early estimates from the light rail team and Valley Metro show public utility relocations estimated to be about $1.2 million. So if we can get some of this work done with the development team, that could be a great benefit to light rail. The benefits of this project are many, but first and foremost, preservation. This building, again, was built in 1915. It will celebrate its 101st birthday this year. The fact that the developer is granting a perpetual conservation easement ensures that this building will be protected indefinitely. It's a very significant, important building in the city of Phoenix, so we have worked to guarantee that it will be around for years to come. Additionally, this project will continue the ongoing downtown revitalization. It supports 4 of the primary goals outlined in the council-adopted downtown strategic vision. It will generate net new tax revenues of about $4.4 million, and that amount is actually conservative with the added density. We expect those numbers to grow. It will reduce the city's operating costs by eliminating the need to maintain the Barrister building in its current status. It will create additional housing alternatives with the introduction of for-sale residential. It will further the gateway into the warehouse district. And it will create approximately 200 construction jobs as well as 50 permanent jobs upon completion. As part of this process, we went out and conducted several community meetings, or I should say we attended several community meetings. We went to the Downtown Neighborhood Alliance meeting. We visited with the Downtown Voices Coalition, the Warehouse District, and we also did a presentation to the Historic Preservation Commission. To date, we've actually received letters, which I believe you may have copies of, letters of support from the Downtown Neighborhood Alliance, the Downtown Voices Coalition, as well as Habitat Metro. And with that, staff recommends your approval of this item, and we're happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have some cards. I'll go to the cards marked in favor. Brent Kleinman.
Well, first of all, Brent Kleinman, and thank you, Councilman Valenzuela and the rest of the committee. I think this is a great thing, and I love seeing the Barrister building being saved and being used this way. My one question for you is on the east side of the building where you're building this 15-story next to it, are those apartments or condos that are going to be there just looking at the side of the building, or are those not for sale units on that east side of the 6-story building? Would be one question, but the general concept of this entire design is very impressive, and it was great to see, and I look forward to a few years from now being able to walk down to Central and Jefferson and using all these new shops. And I believe in your proposal there was a comment as far as using local businesses in the shops, and I think that is so very important because I'm at 7th Avenue McDowell and seen so many chain restaurants that flooded that corner when they redeveloped it. It was very sad. So the more local Phoenix, Arizona businesses we see take those shops, the much better it would be for the city and the neighborhood. So thank you very much for the work you're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Kleinman. Wishing to not speak, marked in favor. David Kreider from DPI. I'm looking for Mr. Kreider. Still good with that, Mr. Kreider? Okay. I'm marked in favor. Daniel Clockey.
Morning, Councilman, members of the subcommittee. My name is Dan Clockey, and I serve as the director of the Downtown Phoenix Partnership. We at the partnership really sort of see ourselves as the curator of the public realm and the sidewalk experience, because when you look at downtown, that's where the experience is on the sidewalk. And for many, many years, the Barrister building has been the antithesis of that. You've had this vacant building with reflective glass, no shade. It's been pretty abysmal. In addition, our organization has spent many, many hours cleaning the outside of the Barrister building and dedicating a lot of resources to it. And finally, as a member of the Historic Preservation Committee, it's always hard to see a building of this importance sitting there vacant. So this proposal really begins to transform this intersection. One, it obviously takes the Barrister building back to its former glory days as the Jefferson Hotel. It creates a ground floor experience. Instead of reflective windows all the way along it, it's going to have this wonderful porosity with the people who will be eating and drinking and so forth inside in the restaurants. It increases the shade on the sidewalk. And finally, the increased density just activates the street that much more. So we're very supportive of this. Very happy to see Mr. Beers taking this project on, and hope you're supportive as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clockey. Next speaker marked in favor, John Graham.
Good. I don't need to speak. Thank you.
John is marked in favor. Thank you. Next speaker, Brian Cassidy, marked in favor.
Yes. Good morning. Brian Cassidy with CCBG Architects in the Warehouse District, and I'm also the chair of the Warehouse District Council. And Jeff and his team came before our council meeting about 2 weeks ago, made a full presentation to over 40 of our members, and it was received very, very well with unanimous support. You know, as an architect, I had a chance to be one of those 8 people that submitted, and I know how challenging this site is, and I would say that they've done as well a job as you possibly could to make this corner come alive, to activate the street for this project. And a couple things I really like about what they're doing is the historic preservation of the original Jefferson Hotel is very, very well done. This is the epicenter corner of downtown Phoenix, and it's so important that we have a good streetscape here, that we have some density here. And the addition of that taller tower to the east helps get the density up to where we think this should be. It creates a nice variety of housing in the downtown. We don't really have any for sale product right on this area right now, as everybody knows. And it's a very, very good project. And the new architecture is complementary, but yet distinct from what the old building is. And I just think it's a great proposal, and we hope to see more and more proposals of this quality coming into our downtown here in the near future, and urge you to please support their application. Thank you.
Thank you. Roger? Sir, please state your last name as well.
My name is Roger Brevoort. I'm a historic preservation consultant in Phoenix, active for a long time, and a former staff of the Historic Preservation Office as well. I'm very glad to see this project come forward, and I want to speak in support of it. I think for many people in the preservation community are very supportive of the project because it takes the Jefferson Hotel from 1915 and restores the facades. And it would be very, it's just going to add a lot to the integrity of downtown Phoenix to have the original 1915 appearance, at least in a close approximation, brought back to the center of the town. And I think for that reason, the preservation community is going to support this very well. I also like the idea of the new building behind, sort of transitioning to the warehouse district. That's a win for both downtown and the warehouse district as well. And it's great to see for sale product, residential product downtown, and new construction. So I think on balance, this whole proposal enlivens a very key intersection in downtown Phoenix.
Thank you. All right, that is the last of the cards. Everyone who spoke or who signed in marked in favor. I'll turn it over to my colleagues. Any questions or comments?
I'll make a couple comments.
Sure, Councilwoman.
I really support this. I think it's great that we're going to be able to finally have this project go forth. My only concern has been parking, and I think you and I have discussed that a couple times, Chris, because I just don't think everybody's going to take the light rail coming and going, and I want you to continue to measure if you have sufficient parking. Also, if you're going to have pets, I expect a little area for the puppies to go. I'm very picky about that, but I think it's absolutely great for the city of Phoenix. It's going to be beneficial in so many ways. I mean, it's not only the product, the convenience, and doing something with the site finally, but I see us gaining revenue over the years for this, and that's what it's all about downtown. Not only making it a great place to go, but to build money for the city. So I congratulate you on your project, and I look forward to seeing it coming up and opening its doors.
Chairman Valenzuela, Councilwoman Williams, we will continue to focus on parking. That is a big issue for us. So we'll continue to focus on that. And we are working closely with the developer on a little puppy park to figure out a place for those little guys to go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman, or Vice Mayor?
Thank you. I'm very excited that it's a local team. I think we have a unique downtown, and it's good to have people from our community who understand what we've accomplished in downtown, and will continue to celebrate the history of our downtown as we build for the future. I also want to say thank you for talking about, involving the warehouse, first of all, to our staff for involving the folks in the warehouse district in this decision making, and then to the project team. It really looks like the project doesn't have the back facing south, which that is a criticism we sometimes hear about downtown projects, that they put the back facing the warehouse district, and the warehouse district is such an important up and coming and already highly contributing part of our downtown community. And so to say people are coming from all ends and we want to have that relationship on all sides is really important to me as well. Just to make sure I do understand, I assume if you pass Brian's test, we're in good shape, but where are the service entrances on the buildings?
Through the alley. Vice Mayor Gallego, there's currently a public access easement that bisects the site from east to west. We have an L-shaped parking configuration with the first height, first level at 14 feet. That leaves room for service vehicles to come in on the alley and exit out through the other side of the alley, or to turn south either through our own garage or through the Fabric Trust parcel, which is immediately adjacent, onto Madison Street. So the whole circulation and parking scheme is designed to continue a clockwise motion, which is literally moving you in and out of the project, taking advantage of the one-way nature of Central Avenue. forcing the alley to be a bit one way and forcing our park bit, so that way we can kind of create a loop, which is really critical. We've wrestled with circulation a lot on this because, again, we're just under an acre and we're trying to get a lot of density on. If I may, to the parking point, because that has come up, what we've done to help remedy the issue with the RFP proposal is on levels 2, 3, and 4, we've actually taken that garage and we've pushed it out to the street and screened it. And what that allowed us to do was create more residential parking spaces that not only allowed us to create more density, which was one of the critiques we received, but it also now freed up the entire ground floor, which will be dedicated to public parking. So now we've gone from 0 public parking spaces to probably about half of what you'd ideally want to have. So we are still counting on light rail to bring people down here and just the general activation of downtown. But we've made substantial improvements on the RFP submittal as far as parking goes.
And so is there a ground floor view of parking right now where that's what you see at the ground floor?
So the two, oh, thank you, Robin. Go to the.
Yeah, picture is worth 1,000 words here.
So there's actually 2 gaskets, one to the east of the Barrister Building, which you can see there, and then one to the south of the Barrister Building, which is effectively the alley. And what that allows you to do, so you come in off the alley, all movements exit from Central Avenue. The light rail blocks any entry and egress onto Jefferson. We don't border on Madison, on First Ave. So the idea is to bring traffic up Central Avenue, turn eastward into the alley. And when you exit your vehicle, you'll have 3 opportunities to get out to the street, through this gasket, through the alley, or if you wind up parking down toward Madison, you can literally just walk out to Madison Street and come around. So there's plenty of opportunity to get to the retail from the public parking that's behind it. And retailers, whether they're local or national, in our case local, will all tell you that they thrive on visibility. And what's so critical to them is to have people see their store. Retailers are a very optimistic bunch, and they believe if people know they're there and have an opportunity to sample their product, that they'll come back and they'll do whatever they have to do to get back. And we've created visibility in spades on this, and the construction of the light rail, even again going down Central, is going to be marvelous for the retail from a visibility perspective.
So the ground floor parking is behind the retail, not on the street.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss the question completely?
That's the way it looked, and I just wanted to make sure, because
we're hoping there's a few parallel parking spots on Central, but that's not a material amount.
we hear a lot from the downtown community that they love to see retail, and doubly counts if it's local retail, so thank you for that. How did you do that? Because we often have people come in and say, our bankers want national credit tenants, and they'd rather have McDonald's.
To be honest, it is an issue. It would be easier to finance the project if we brought in national tenants. That said, this is primarily a residential project. The numbers live and die off the residential, which is 90%, over 90% of the density. So that's how. It's something we were able to build in. We knew it was a big, big requirement as we were reading through the RFP that was proposed to have, local flair. We always work all of our projects with the local development team anyway. It's not a big extension for us. In fact, we sat down with Kimber Lanning. We presented this to her. We're going to try to get her help on this. I mean, it's really important to us to bring as many local. By the way, that's what make projects fun too.
Right.
I mean, national tenants, unless they're first of the valley, they're kind of fun if you get the first one. But for the most part, we've all been there and we've done it. So it's fun to have local. They're always going to bring the unique stuff that's going to attract people down to the project.
Excellent. We're excited to have fun local flair and bring people from outside our community to see that. And I'm really glad that you're partnering with our folks on light rail. We hear so often from the community, we love it if you could just dig once. So if you're going to open up the street, get as much done as possible. So thank you to that. And that's, since I represent some of the area south of here, who's really looking forward to light rail, appreciate that partnership and connectivity on that as well. And then my last question, if you just talk about some of the environmental sustainability portions of the project.
Sure, Vice Mayor Gallego, the most important thing we're doing is preserving the Barrister Building. From a pure dollars and cents perspective, any banker would tell you you're always better off leveling your site and building something new. We're not doing that, of course. We're preserving the building. That's the best part of all, I think, as from a sustainability perspective. From the new construction perspective, it's actually in our best interest to try to put as much sustainability into the product as we can because people want it. As time marches on, people are looking more and more and more for sustainability. The question we get a lot is, why don't you go for a LEED certification? And we might, but it's really interesting. What people, they want dual pane windows, low emissivity glass, so we give them that. People actually balk at some of the type of things that we're used to putting, that you're used to seeing in a LEED Platinum project, for instance, rainwater collection. There's certain things, people don't want to sacrifice comfort. They don't want to have, necessarily a trickle coming out of the shower head. There's certain things we have to put in that makes it hard for us sometimes to get the actual certifications, but everything we can think of, low VOC paints and gases, bamboo flooring, the glass, the material sourcing. We do a lot of that stuff because it's good business and because people want it. And then the, oh darn, I had one other point I needed to make, but I can't, it'll come to me later.
Wonderful. Thank you. Look forward to supporting the motion.
Okay. That's great. Kimber Lanning would be an excellent person. I think that you can, there's several, but I think she's an excellent person that the team should sit down with and get some ideas of how to just to bring in locally. It's the projects that personally I'd like to support are many that are locally owned, locally influenced, certainly locally influenced, and sometimes, we need the national brands, but those are also locally influenced. One of my biggest concerns, along with parking, which thank you for addressing that, is light rail. I made it very clear the first time we talked about the Barrister building. I don't want, I would not, it'd be a tough pill to swallow to see the city of Phoenix sell off this piece of property only to buy it back for double the amount because we realize that we need this corner for light rail as we go south. And that has been addressed in this project, so I appreciate the attention there, just having the foresight and the vision of just, well, we know that light rail is going to be going south and it's going to be right in this area here, and working with the light rail team now with all of the utility work, I think is an excellent idea. This is an example, I think, of finding a way to move our downtown and our economy forward while preserving our history and our identity, this place of the sense of where we want to be and belong. So the historic preservation component of it cannot be understated. And so it looks like it's all coming together, and it's easy to support. It's exciting, in fact. So that said, we don't have a motion on the table yet.
Move approval.
We have a motion.
Second.
And a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have one.
Sub-metering, that's what I forgot.
Thank you.
What was it?
Sub-metering.
Our next agenda item is the call to the public. We do have one card, Gilbert Cohn.
Hi, this is just in regards to the aircraft noise and the activity on the East Valley, and I'd really like to know why my continued and repeated request to have a meeting with somebody to discuss specifics have been ignored. I've filled out many forms, I've left many phone calls, I've done so many things, and all my requests have been ignored. And in your agenda item number 1, you say that you're open to meetings and community outreach and all that. I think it's bull. I haven't seen any evidence of that. And so I'd really like a platform to discuss things. And I've been pursuing you guys for over a year now.
We've had open meetings.
Yep, and those are worthless. I've gone to several of them, and I get the runaround.
Well, it's the first time I've seen you at this meeting, and I'm glad that you're here. We do have aviation staff, and I'll ask them to exchange information and get your meeting. But welcome to this subcommittee meeting, and you're certainly welcome to every meeting that we have.
Okay. I've been trying to come to the last 3 or 4, but they've all been canceled. So I think since December.
No, sir.
Or January.
No, sir.
I,
No. We just approved meeting minutes from May. So,
Okay.
But thank you so much. If we can, we'll ask someone from our aviation committee. All right, any future agenda items?
I have one quick one, because I heard last Friday at the airport was a record-setting day because everybody had to be there early for TSA. The food and beverage sales were the highest ever, which reminds me, in September, I'm hoping you will bring back the idea for the additional kiosks, because the lines outside waiting to go in were long and a lot of people grumbled.
Staff has promised me that per your request, we will be back after the break to tell you what we know.
Because we could have even more dollars.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Meeting adjourned.